Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Jason and thank you very much for joining me for this Meeple-minded crowdfunding preview. Loose in the Library is a 2 to 4 player, family-friendly competitive card game for ages 8 and up, in which players assume the role of junior librarians vying for an apprenticeship at a magical cursed library. But today, it is a tad more cursed than normal, as the monsters, as well as other terrible things, have come to life and escaped from their books and are hiding in and amongst the shelves in the library to stay out of their paper-bound prisons. As the crew vying for that lucrative apprenticeship, the head librarian has decided it is now your job to go and round them all up and get them back where they belong. The game itself is split into 2 chapters which equate to different types of gameplay. The first is a much simpler and quicker gameplay that uses a 2-action turn, allowing players to draw cards to gain symbols and then using those symbols to capture the wandering terrors. Whereas the second chapter, which is, I must add, still heavily in development, introduces a drafting mechanism into the mix in a not so conventional way. Let's have a quick look at the 2 setups and then a quick look at how to play the 2 versions. Okay guys, so here we are in a 2-player setup of Chapter 1, the Librarian's Challenge. So I'll just run you through very quickly how we got this set up. The first thing you want to do is you want to separate all of your cards into the different piles. That's the book cards, the terror cards, which are the ones that have got these little eyes on the back. You've got your rewards cards down here, you've got your green challenge cards, you have these pink private challenge cards, as well as some bookworm assistance thing and your first player marker as well. So those last 2 things, the first player marker and the bookworm challenge, you will not need those in this version of the game, so they can be removed straight away. So setting up, shuffle all of your book cards together, they're different colours, and then divide them out into the amount of piles that you need. For a 2 and a 3 player game, it's going to be 4 piles. In a 4 player game, you're going to have an additional pile here as well. Once you've done that, place them out on the table like so. Then you want to shuffle all of your terrors together and then divide them into the 4 piles underneath, as you see here, but they will be face up, whereas the book cards are always face down. Shuffle your treasure cards, put them alongside the terror ones here. These are going to be your rewards for capturing the terrors. Then you want to shuffle all of the double-sided green challenge cards, shuffle them together, and then you put out 2 for every player in the game. So in this scenario, we're set up for 2 players, so that's 4 challenges. In a 4-player game, for example, there will be 8 of these. These are double-sided. They do have some information on there that pertains to how many players you have and the difficulty. Obviously, you just need to figure out what difficulty level you want and how many players you've got to determine which ones of these you will have in your deck to shuffle. Once that is done, that is your main board area completely set up. The only thing left to do is to issue these private objectives to everyone, and you do shuffle 2 of these to each player. That player then has to pick one of those challenges and then discard the other. And that is the setup for Chapter 1. Okay guys, so here we are in the setup for the Chapter 2, the Bookworms Challenge. As you can see, there's a bit more going on the table, but it's still not a particularly big setup that we've got here. Fairly similar in setup, but there are some subtle differences. So the first and foremost is with the book cards. In this one, we have got a single stack of book cards here and 4 face-up book cards. That's going to be the first thing you want to do. And it will be exactly the same with regards to the terrors down here as well. You've got a single stack face down and then 4 revealed as well. On this one, we actually have the treasures down here as a deck and then 4 revealed underneath. Same at the top. Challenges are done by depending on how many players that you've got. In this instance, we're set up for 2 players again, so 2 per player. We've got the private objectives here. There is a face down pile here, as well as the 2 which have been given to each individual player for them to choose one of. But as you can see, we've actually installed, or brought in, should I say, the book token and also the bookworm's help for this one. So these ones are a bit more important in this game. So you need to make sure that they are out on the table. But that is the setup for Chapter 2. Now let's go over and see how both of these variations are actually played. Okay guys, so here we are in... We're about a couple of rounds in here on the game, but just so I can run you through what we're going to be doing and how to play this game. On your turn, you get 2 actions to do various things. You can draw a book card from the centre here. It's always face down, but the colours backs of the book give you a rough idea of what you're going to be seeing on those cards. For example, a blue backed card, you're guaranteed at least 1 blue symbol. So on this turn, I'm actually going to take a blue card. That's my first action done. I've added it into my hand here. The second actions that I could possibly do, I could draw another card if I wanted to, or if I've got symbols enough that match these terrors down the bottom here, I could cash some of these cards in to capture a terror. So what have I got? Well, I've got a couple of blues, and if I use those 2 cards there, I've also got a couple of oranges on there, which means I could capture the pit and pendulum there, and it's going to give me 3 points for doing so. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to cash in all 3 of these cards and capture the pit and pendulum. Okay, so that comes over here to my play area, ready for scoring at the end of the game. And for capturing a terror, I also get to draw a face down bonus card, which, yeah, these are not actions, so you can cash these in at any time on your turn. For example, the one I've just got is the photocopier. Double the number of all symbols on 1 book card. That's a pretty powerful card, quite handy indeed. But that would be my 2 actions for this round done. Other things that I could have done is I could have discarded 2 cards from my hand, any 2 cards from my hand, in order to draw 2 brand new private objective cards, and then I pick one of those to add and potentially give me scoring points at the end of the game. Unfortunately, I've left these here because I had it set up as the drafting one. These aren't actually in the game, so I ignore them. My bad on that. But yeah, other than that, play just continues until one of the book decks runs out, or all of the private objectives are claimed. But the real trick here, though, is when one of those game end triggers is triggered, the game ends immediately. That's it, game over, no finishing the round for anyone. So you do have the ability there to potentially screw over some of your opponents on that one, but it's not a particularly take that type of a game, really. But yeah, that is the basic gist of how you play the game. Let's have a quick look now at how to play the drafting Chapter 2 version. Okay guys, so it's the start of the round here in the drafting game. The first thing you're going to be doing is dealing 7 cards out to each player, so we'll do that very quickly now in this 2-player game. So that's 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7. There we go, and that can go back there. These will be given to me over here, so I've got one here, and then this pile would be given to my opponent over here. So these will be face down in front of you. You do not look at these cards. Okay, so these will be sat down face in front of me. Unfortunately, that won't be on camera, but they are face down in front of me. So, on my turn in this game, I get 1 single action, unlike the other version where I would have had 2. In this one, I get 1 action. And the actions in this can be as thus. I can draft the card. If I choose to use that action, I get to pick up the cards that I have in front of me, and I get to have a look at all the cards, and I get to pick a single card from my draft pile here. Let's say I'm going to pick this one here, for example. That is now in my hand and is usable in future turns. So I've drafted that card, and that's my 1 action. Play would then move on to the next player until everyone has had a go. At the end of that round, these cards will be passed to the player to the left, so everyone's passing cards. If someone has drafted that round, it's going to have 1 less card in it. Maybe the player to your right didn't draft that turn, which means you're going to be getting the same amount of cards as they had. So that's that. The second action that I could do on my turn, let's say for example we're a few turns in and I've got 3 cards in my hand, as you can see, like in the other one I've got cards with symbols on, and if I've got one that matches a terror down here, so for example if I use these 2, I could capture Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. So let's say I'm going to do that, that's my action this turn, I'm going to cash that in and capture Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. As my bonus, as before, I get to draw a treasure, but not blind from the deck, it is from down here. The real question is, did I achieve any of these public objectives? No, I did not. Then that's it, my turn is over, move on to the next turn, draw out a new terror and draw out a new treasure, and that's my turn over. That will be another action on my turn. A third action that I can do, I can maybe not like the fact that I'm not the first player in the next round, so I can sacrifice my turn and take a Bookworm's Help, which will give me -1 point at the end of the game. But with the Bookworm's Help, I can take a face-up book card from the section here, or I could take up a face-up reward card for the cost of a -1 at the end of the game, of course, or I can just take that one and say, next round I am the first player, so I take the first player card from whoever has it. Playing the next round would start with me. Short of that, it's just going to move to the player to the left. And that is pretty much all of the actions that I can do within this game. But this one is slightly different to the other one, where you're just trying to gain as many points as you possibly can. This game actually comes to an end when one player has a total of 20 points from their captured terrors. That doesn't include any points that you're going to be getting from challenges or your private challenges or anything like that. It is literally the points that are on the terrors themselves. Obviously, if at any point I believe all of the public objectives are gone, that will also trigger the end of the game. Okay guys, so there we are. That is how to set up the game and how to play it. Now obviously I will mention once again that this game is still in heavy development and things might well change by the time the game is released. This game is coming to crowdfunding very, very soon. I think it actually comes out to crowdfunding the same week that this video will drop. But obviously check the description for that, because I will put links to that crowdfunding campaign in the description. But right now, let's talk about final thoughts on this game, because as you can see, I actually own Labyrinth, which was, I guess, the spiritual predecessor to Loose in the Library. I backed this on crowdfunding. We actually had Mill of Dissent Games on the podcast. We had a good chat about that. We've been to a few of the events that they put on as well. We always catch up with them whenever we go to an expo that they happen to be at as well. So I've been excited for Loose in the Library for quite some time. Now, as you can see, right now we have a prototype copy of it. There is no box. I haven't even seen the box art for Loose in the Library, but you know, judging by the box art for Labyrinth, I'm going to guess it'll be quite nice. And it'd be interesting to see the box size, because interestingly, this is literally the whole game and it fits in my hand. It's awesome. I've actually been storing it inside a 100 card deck box, and there's enough room in there for all of these to be sleeved as well. So that's always a good thing. So it'll be interesting to see how big the box will be. I can imagine it'll be about the same as Labyrinth, with a nice insert inside maybe, but there you go. So let's talk about the game. Well, first off, let's talk about Chapter 1, because I've played this with quite a few people, right? And the unanimous feedback that I have got is that they prefer Chapter 2. However, the merits of Chapter 1 is definitely something that's worth having within the game, because it's far more palatable for a younger audience and a more sort of family-friendly environment. Okay, so yes, where it says on my little crib sheet over here, this is what the rules are for us. We don't have a proper rule book yet, but it's 8+ for that first chapter, and I can agree with that, providing people of that age are akin to playing games, I would say. But at the same time, I would say that it's also very easy to dive into at that level as well. Now, I have spoken to Dissent Games about this. Apparently this game will actually be sent to schools as well, which is a really good thing because there's a lot of educational value in both of the versions of this game. But I can well believe that within schools, Chapter 1 is going to be their priority to playing that in the schools. And I think it should be, because it's nice, it's quick, it's punchy, it's 20 minutes, and that would be my personal choice. I actually prefer the Chapter 1 version for how quick it is. I can crack this out. This is an amazing filler game, and I can just crack this out, set it up within a couple of minutes, and boom, we're playing the game. Very easy to explain. 2 actions, do this, that's what you can do, claim this, get as many terrors as you can, get as much points as you can. Player with the most points at the end of the game wins, right? Nice and simple. The drafting version, the Chapter 2, on the other hand, does make you think a bit more. Now, that is the one that I have. It actually says it on my little rulebook here that it is still in heavy development. So obviously things on that might change quite considerably. But that's the one that people really liked. And I think it's because it just brought a little bit more to the party. And the people I've been playing this with, they are, of course, heavy gamers who play very, very regularly. They play a lot heavier games as well. So I think that's probably why they've gone for that, as opposed to the original Chapter 1 version. The setup-wise, it takes about the same amount of time. It's no real difference. So that's a good thing. But Chapter 2, for me, the -1 by accepting the bookworm's help is interesting because, you know, in that second game, as soon as someone hits 20 points with regards to their terrors, it's going to trigger the end of the game. So taking a -1 at any point in that game is quite punishing. So you want to know that taking that -1 is 100% worth it. And being able to claim cards that are in the center, especially if it's going to get you net plus points because you're going to claim a card, know that you'll be able to then achieve a public objective in the next turn, for example, then it's worth it. But for me, I found that just drafting from the cards in front of me was more than enough within that game. But at certain times I did sort of think to myself, now might be the time to take that -1. So very strategic play in Chapter 2. Probably a lot more challenging, a lot more to think about in Chapter 2. So I think that just brings a little bit more to the table. So final thoughts for this for me is I love the fact that there are 2 different gameplays within this. And if I'm being honest, I think they could probably incorporate more into the game. So, you know, maybe they will, maybe they won't. I don't know. Maybe they've happy that with the development that they've got, especially as it's now about to go to crowdfunding. This is going to be a game that I will indeed be backing because I think this is a great filler game. I love the artwork on it. I like the educational side of things of it as well. And to be honest, Dissent Games, yes, they are good friends of us, and they did send me this free of charge for the purpose of this video. So thank you very much for that. But they just, in general, they're very, very nice people, very accommodating. So I would actively ask everyone to support them as much as you can, and they sell reasonably priced games. That's the key thing here. I don't know anything about the pricing of Loose in the Library, but I do know the pricing of Library Labyrinth, and that is definitely worth every penny that's worth. That is also getting a reprint within this crowdfunding campaign as well. So if you don't have Library Labyrinth, I highly recommend it. It's a very good bigger brother, if you like, to Loose in the Library. And that's all I'm going to say for today. I may well do a proper review of this at some point, but obviously being a preview, I'm not going to go into all the little bits here and there because it's a prototype copy at the end of the day. There's going to be things that are wrong with it. But there you go. Thank you very much for watching and enjoy the campaign guides. All the best of luck to Dissent Games, and I will see you on the next one.